Hi, I'm Chris with Horsepower Freaks, and I'm here with John, our service manager. And John, this motor looks amazing. What exactly are we looking at here?
We're looking at a fully built Stage 3 engine with pretty much most of our kit on it. This is how we install them into the car. We put, due to this special rig that we've built, we're able to put most of the engine together and lift it into the car.
All right, so the car basically, put the car in the air and then push this right up in the bottom of the car.
Right up into the bottom, and exactly how BMW does it at the factory.
Okay, and a lot of this stuff looks very aftermarket. Obviously, we have the turbo. Do you want to talk a little bit about the turbo and the turbo manifold and everything we've got on this side?
Yeah, the turbocharger is a 71 billet wheel, oil-cooled, non-water-cooled. After, I don't know, 20 turbochargers that we've tried, this is the one that works for us, and this is the one that makes the power that everybody's after.
Now we've tried a whole bunch of turbos with our kids, and all different variations of compressor covers, exhaust housings, different wheels, and this 71 on here actually spools as fast as the 67 with the billet wheel. It is dual ball bearing, but the nice thing about it is it makes 800 wheel quite easily. So we're able to have a turbo that spools as fast as like a normal turbo that you might see on a pretty fast Eclipse or Evo, or even our Stage 1 and 2s, but yet still make 800 wheel, which is about 950 crank horsepower in this car. So it's pretty impressive. This is our turbo manifold. It's made out of steel, but it's ceramic coated, which is why it looks really nice. And this is an extremely resistant ceramic coating. I mean, we've had cars come back that we've done more modifications to, and have you ever seen scratches in there come out?
Not unintentional scratches. We've seen.
I mean, it is on there, so it's a really nice coating. And then it has to be a nice coating because look, here's the intake. Intake pipe's running right by it. Now, this is made out of carbon fiber, and it's a dry carbon inlet. This is a heat shielding here, but it's pretty strong. I mean,
it's really strong. We've slammed those things on the ground. In our prototype room, basically, you'll find our first versions of these that are made out of different material. You'll find ones that we've burnt up. You'll find ones that we've cut in half. You'll find ones that Chris has stomped on the ground. We
use them as baseball bats.
Yeah, basically, when we get stuff made, we try to beat it up before we begin to install them into vehicles. And this basically is our latest version, and it's the strongest one we've made. As you can see, if you profile down the side right here, it's basically made to fit just this particular application. It curves around the frame rail and bypasses the turbocharger manifold and the coolant inlet and everything. It's basically made to fit exactly perfect.
Yeah, I notice here that we've got our motor mount, and that clears as well.
Yeah, we had to move the motor mount forward a few inches to fit the large turbocharger. And this is all stuff that comes with the kit. There's nothing special about this. There's no custom-made, one-off stuff on this. So any of this stuff right here, you buy a Stage 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. This is exactly what you get. It all bolts right to the vehicle.
Now I notice the wastegate dump tube comes real nicely here off the turbo manifold. One of the things that you'll find on a well-designed turbo system is that the direction of airflow out of the exhaust manifold in this case is actually directed towards the wastegate. Now what that does is it allows us to have very precise control of boost. Sometimes when you have a tubular manifold, when you see all the runners go down and then up into the turbo, but you have the wastegate off the side, when that wastegate opens, it doesn't create such a pressure drop because all the air is actually flowing.
Yeah, it's really hard for anything, air, water, whatnot. Everything's going to take the path of least resistance. So basically, if you have your runners coming up into your turbocharger flange and your wastegate coming 90 degrees off of it, like most people have, I mean, air traveling, exhaust gas traveling at that velocity is not going to just take a 90-degree turn to exit out of the wastegate. So basically, the way this is done, all the air is channeled this direction So when the wastegate opens, it's a straight shot right out the door.
So we can use the wastegate duty cycle that we have, and we can precisely control the boost. And actually on all of our kits, we have fail-safes in that drop the car back to low boost. So because of the way we have it set up, we can actually, the computer targets 2 boost levels. One which is a high boost, which will hit when you have race gas or methanol. And if the methanol, let's say, runs out, or you get a block in a line, then it automatically jumps back to a low boost. And the low boost setting is for pump gas. It's designed for 91 octane, so whether you're in California or Arizona, or whether you're where the good gas is, it's still going to be the same safe tune.
Mm-hmm. This right here is not the hard part of boost control. The way that we've done it and the way that JP's tuned it, the hard stuff is all in the electronics and the way that the EMS works.
Right.
He's been able to run on one wastegate spring on the exact same setup. He's been able to run as low as 3 pounds and as high as 17 pounds.
Which is pretty amazing.
Which is pretty amazing. That's a big window.
What we do that's different than I think a lot of turbo manufacturers and turbo kit companies, especially if they're going to do their own electronics, is there's parts of the curve that just normally aren't tuned because most setups can't run 3 pounds of boost to redline at full throttle. Mm-hmm. And so what we're able to do is we're able to say, okay, run 3 pounds of boost, full throttle, tune the map. Run 5 pounds of boost, full throttle, tune the map. All the way up to 23 or 30 pounds or whatever we're running. And what that does is no matter where when you're racing, no matter where you are in that map, it's always tuned right. So what I notice when I'm going down the track is every time I get into the throttle or out of the throttle, the power's always right there. There's no bucking or hesitation no matter where we are. It's just always full power. And that's because of the way that we've tuned and the way that we've set up the electronics to control boost and the way that we've dealt with the wastegate, which is sort of proprietary. We're not going to talk about it here, but it's pretty ingenious. So
another failsafe is that JP has tuned more of the area than you can use. For instance, a stage 1 runs 6 to 7 pounds low boost, about 12, 13 pounds high boost. He's tuned it from the point of least boost that we can make, which is 3 pounds. It's tuned all the way to 17 pounds, 18 pounds. Your car will never make it there because we won't let you, but it is tuned there. Just so if anything sporadic were to happen, you had a boost spike due to whatnot, the car will be safe at that level.
And we have had people that had one gentleman had a 2.5, and something happened to his wastegate lines, and he was running 30 pounds of boost for a while, and we realized that for whatever reason, I think it wasn't hitting boost cut. I don't know why, but we normally have a fail-safe so that when it runs past a certain point, you'll feel it. It'll hit boost cut.
The stage 2.5 and above, I want to say, is tuned to 34 or 35 pounds.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's capable of quite a bit of horsepower, even though we don't release them at that level.
And if you have one of our 2.5s, don't even think about modifying your wastegate to do that, because it will cut power when you overboost, and you don't want to take the chance. We set it up so it's safe. We make the most power we can, then we back it down to a safe amount. So let's talk about the other side of the motor. All right, so we're on the other side of the motor, and I can see some cool fancy stuff here. What's this, John?
That is our oil scavenge pump. The turbocharger is mounted so low that we need a pump to pump the oil out of the turbocharger back into the pan. The turbocharger sits below the oil level. And why do we do that? It's because that's the only place it fits. There's no other way to do it. The difficult part of this particular engine in this particular chassis is space constraint. And BMW has raked all of their motors so that they sit diagonally in the engine bay. For instance, a Toyota Supra, tons of space. You can put the turbocharger anywhere you want. You could put a big, gnarly, huge turbocharger in there, because if you look at the motor, it sits straight up and down in the engine bay.
Now I noticed these are some pretty cool lines. You don't normally see these with turbo kits. I see that these are high pressure lines, right?
Very high pressure lines. Nothing in the vehicle will make enough pressure to blow that line. Nothing. There's not the fuel system, nothing. The only thing that will possibly blow the line is the Vanos. But
And how much pressure is that?
the Vanos runs, I believe the Vanos runs at 100 bar, which is thousands of pounds. But that has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to prove that.
Well, the neat thing I like about this is it's all one piece. It's not a fitting to another fitting. And so many times when you're running aftermarket turbo kits, you get these little oil leaks because you have a air-equipped line with some AN fittings and you're screwing them on. And you can only use them so many times and then they just start leaking, whereas this is one piece. It's even the ends are pressure crimped on, so they're never going to blow off. And there's just really no chance for leaks. How many? You can take these off millions of times.
Yeah,
can't
you can take them off quite a bit of time.
Okay. Now, so this obviously is a huge fuel line. So why is this fuel line so big?
Stage 3 comes with an upgraded fuel system, which
Is it-
actually does consume quite a bit of fuel when you're in boost. Amazingly though, even Stage 3, Stage 4 car, if you drive it around idly, like a normal person would drive a car on the road, it's actually not bad on fuel consumption at all.
Really?
Because seeing as how it's not a supercharger, the turbocharger is load dependent. You can be at 4,000 or 5,000 RPM and not make any boost at all.
Now, I know we've had some stage 1 and 2s getting 30 miles per gallon. Now, I think the stage 3 we're probably looking at over 20 for sure.
Yeah, over
On
20
the
for
freeway,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. It's definitely comparable. Just cruising, no load, it's comparable to a stage 1 or 2. Definitely.
Wow. Okay, now this is a really neat piece. This is the intake manifold that comes with our kits. Obviously, all of this stuff comes with our kits, and it has full instructions on how to install it yourself, written by John with pictures and sometimes videos for different things. But why don't you tell us a little bit about this intake manifold?
This is a piece that JP designed. We've had casted. Great thing about this piece is since it is casted at a very, very high level, they're always perfect. We have never ever had any single problem with this manifold, and none of our customers have ever spoken to
the
us
smoothness is incredible, and that's because this is investment cast, and the casting is so nice on those.
We can actually show you a raw one, and even though it's casted so well. It's not like an exhaust manifold that's sand casted. There's no pitting in it. It's not rough. It's smooth.
And we've made these we can color match these to people's cars.
Yes, we've done that a few times. We've color matched these white. We've obviously color matched them orange. They come in a black wrinkle. They come polished.
And the black wrinkle, it looks very OEM.
Yeah, very OEM. It cleans up very well. Very, very well.
Now the methanol automatically has a spot right here.
Yes. In the bottom of the manifold, the methanol there's two buttons in the bottom of the manifold. One is for the intake air temperature, and the other one's for the methanol. Every kit, stage 1, everything is capable of methanol.
So you don't need to make a modification afterwards to this if you want to
No.
run methanol. It's already there for you. It just comes with a plug if you
Just comes with a plug if you decide not to run it.
Okay. Now what do we have here? What's this?
That's one of our blow-off valves, one of two. We put one at the intake plenum and one down at the turbocharger. Reason being, if you have one blow-off valve, it's very hard for one valve at one location to vent off all the charge. Because if you think about it, when this blow-off valve activates, it's got to vent off all the excess pressure that's in this manifold, which is actually quite big, in all the piping. We use 3-inch piping, so it's a lot of air charge, through the intercooler all the way back to the turbocharger. Now, if this doesn't vent off air fast enough, then basically you back surge and you surge the compressor, which is actually incredibly bad. When you hear your turbocharger chirping, that's not a cool sound because it's actually slowly destroying your turbocharger. So we put one at the throttles and the other turbocharger down very close to the outlet of the turbo, or the other blow-off valve down close to the turbocharger. So basically vents from both ends.
Now this looks different. This looks different than the normal stage 1 and 2 and 2.5 kits. What is this?
With the stage 3, it comes with our upgraded fuel system, RC injectors, and our custom-made fuel rails, which is actually quite a bit of volume. If you'll notice, the stock fuel rail is quite a bit smaller than the vacuum rail. But if you look at ours, the inside diameter of the fuel rail is just about as big as the vacuum rail. It's actually quite large.
Now a lot of cars don't have this vacuum rail, but the M3s have 6 throttle bodies, which is pretty unique. Like on the Supras, you see a big throttle body right here. But there's actually 6 throttle bodies here, and isn't the vacuum to keep them?
Yes, yes. It's basically to equalize vacuum from cylinder to cylinder.
Okay. Okay, now this isn't the same motor, John. This is another car getting a stage 3 as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see here's the wrinkle black, which obviously it's the same finish, but same intake manifold. You can see how smooth it is, even with a wrinkle polish on it. Still looks perfect.
Yeah, it looks really good.
And so this is the motor in the car. Now, what are you doing here, John, before you fire this thing up?
Before we fire it up, there's a few things that we monitor. Basically, we ensure that there's correct amount of fuel pressure, which in the instructions it shows you how to do. But we continue to monitor this on the dyno, just so we don't see any type of fuel pressure drops, things like that. There's certain things that we monitor. You'll notice that the car is not 100% buttoned up. We do not do that until we're completely done, because throughout the process of dynoing and fine-tuning the car, we'll need to be able to get into certain parts of the vehicle to make changes.
So I see you've got this red hose here with the fuel pressure gauge on it. So what is that for?
Basically, it allows us to monitor fuel pressure while the car's on the dyno. If you'll notice, the line is long enough that it stretches inside the vehicle. So the tuner can monitor the amount of fuel pressure, because we don't want to see any type of fuel pressure drop. So we've actually worked really hard to prevent that. Main thing, a lot of people, they install high flow fuel pumps and this and that, and still don't realize that they're having a fuel pressure drop. And basically they're just compensating it for in their map. So that you'll see at the map, on their map, their fuel map continues to rise.
Right, so where you're actually adding more fuel to a cell, at higher boost levels, it might actually be that you're just losing fuel pressure and you're compensating it by leaving the injectors open longer.
Exactly, exactly. So what we've done is we have our HPF Walbro in the tank. We have 2 more fuel pumps running in line. We have a large distribution block.
3 fuel pumps.
3 fuel pumps, 3 high flow fuel pumps. We've actually done the testing, and from what we've found, our Walbros at high pressure, because these cars do run fairly high pressure, they outperform the E46s, all 3 versions of the E44. So we've actually worked really hard to stop the fuel pressure from dropping. So we have 3 pumps, we have a large distribution block, we have a large line, we have a huge fuel rail, 1200 cc injectors, and on top of that, we have our methanol injection.
So this is a thirsty motor.
Thirsty.
When you open the throttle and makes 1,000 crank horsepower, you need all the fuel. And at high pressure, it takes a lot of fuel pumps to keep that pressure high.
Yeah. Anybody, there's tons of calculators online. They pretty much ballpark. You can pretty much type in 1,000 wheel horsepower, and it'll tell you the fuel consumption.
Well, 1,000 crank on this car,
Yeah,
but we've made 1,000 wheel as well with the same setup. So, and then firing those, you need some special. I see we've got special coils here.
Yes. We use Okada coils. We've actually tried quite a few ways to basically produce stronger ignition, and that's basically the best way to do it that we found. The problem with that is, though, once we install those high output coils, we have a problem with RPM pickup.
On the dyno.
On the dyno, yes. And we've been working on that to try to find a better way to do it. To find RPM pickup, because a lot of you guys are asking for torque numbers, and it's not that we don't want to have torque numbers. It's that a lot of the times we're just unable to capture the RPM signal.
And so when you run as much boost as we're running in these cars, the problem is that the spark plug, when it goes to fire, it can't arc across the.
Exactly. Basically, there's so much velocity traveling through the motor that when the spark plug tries to fire, the boost pressure entering the combustion chamber just blows the spark out, basically suppresses the ignition.
And so if you're running a high boost motor and you get into it one day and it just kind of goes and at the big end, or you can get backfires too.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's either your plugs are fouled or your coil packs are gone.
Yes.
And so with these coil packs, they do really well.
They do incredibly well. We've actually gone to quite extent to design another system that basically does not perform as well as that. Those are very good coils. And we also use a very, very special plug. Anybody with a stage 3 or 4 knows what we're talking about, but I'm not gonna disclose that on camera.
Okay, so then the last thing, this is our new engine management system here. And I see that the nice thing about this new one is we actually made it so that we can plug into it without having to do some fancy legwork. What else is new about this
Another
EMS?
thing that's new about that EMS, for anybody that's having any type of issue out in the field, we've supplied the EMS with a battery backup. So basically, if anything were to go wrong, all you have to do is pull your EMS out, put it in a box, ship to us. It still holds a charge so that it still holds our data log. We can pull the log, find out exactly what's happening, rectify the issue, and send it back to you.
So we've got a 30-minute log that also starts when you turn the key on, or does it start when the car's running?
It basically starts when you turn the key on.
Right,
It starts
so-
the key when it starts when you turn the key on, and it's looping. So it basically just keeps recording over itself.
So like if a map sensor got disconnected and they turned the key on, car wouldn't start, they sent us their EMS, we could call them and just say, hey, we're not getting a map sensor reading, it must be disconnected or not working.
And then the customer would basically verify a faulty or non-faulty sensor, or a unplugged or plugged-in sensor, and basically we'd go from there, rectify the problem.
That's great. Okay, thanks John, appreciate it.